thawed and half-baked episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Catherine Weigel. I'm about half-thawed, baked, whatever.
Yeah.
And with me today is...
Donald Weigel, also half-thawed baked.
Which do you think is worse or better? Something half-thawed is probably inedible.
Yeah.
But at what point is half-baked edible? Like, could you eat half-baked pizza?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you could? You would?
I would eat half-baked just about anything, as long as it wasn't...
It sounds like a dare.
Yeah.
Like, there's a point at which you're not going to die from food poisoning.
There are certain half-baked baked goods that sound really good, actually.
Yeah, I just bought something half-baked, and I'm like, do I need to go through the hassle of having to go all the way? I don't know. Well, we are actually going to be talking a lot about holiday trimmings, and that means FOOD, delicious food. The delicious is silent.
I can't spell, so I don't know what that means.
I'm just glad I spelled it correctly. But we last week did an episode that was a little bit more about the things going on in the world.
Yes, the current 2020 challenges to the holiday season. Now we're going to sort of do a more traditional navigating the holidays episode. We've done a few of these in the past. You can go check them out. We've got Honey Glazed Holidays, Holidays on Ice Parts 1 and 2, and Holiday Halftime.
We sure enjoy the jokes and the yucks.
I will link to all of those in the show notes, and you're about to get another one. It's a refresher course in navigating the holidays.
Well, the good thing is I can barely remember our tips and tricks.
Oh, yeah.
Every week I forget what we say.
No,
so
we finish recording an episode, and then I listen to it back later in the week, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
That was a good point.
We said some good stuff that time.
So we are going to break this episode into 3 parts. Before the holidays, during the holidays, and after the holidays.
Yes, indeed.
See, we have a structure. It's not just us talking and riffing.
We're not just winging it. It's not just going to be zany, wacky. Yeah.
Whatever sound that
is. If you say things are zany and wacky, does it mean that they are?
My grandmother, who I don't think she knows what podcast is, so I can talk freely about her.
Yeah.
My grandmother knows that I took a comedy improv class at one point.
Yeah.
And at really inappropriate times, at family gatherings, wakes, she would say, do something funny.
Yeah, it was
Be
really
funny
good.
now.
I was there. We were at a wedding and she did that. Just do something funny.
And I'm more of a response comic. Like you put me in an elevator, you put me in a passive aggressive situation. I can bebop and scat, but
put you in a passive aggressive situation.
Well, any situation can be a passive aggressive situation.
Yeah, if
Speaking
you want it
holidays,
to be in your heart, you sure can.
Exactly. So this is a season of food.
Yes.
That's what we enjoy. That's why we're here. And that's probably why you're here.
Right. We enjoy it, and we enjoy it a little too much.
Yeah, but Donald, I think we've got lots of different things to cover, but we want to remind you of the math of the holidays before we get started.
Yeah, we are big, huge fans of math, and we know that most people love math, and so we try and jam as much math into these episodes.
Ooh, they're talking about math. Turn it up. Turn it up.
Yeah, everyone, stop what you're doing. Pay attention. This is the good part of the episode. So, I mentioned this in the last episode, but I'm going to bring it up again. I found an article which contained a review of studies, which means they looked at a whole bunch of studies covering the holidays. And the studies in particular were focusing on holiday weight gain, and they found that the average person between Thanksgiving and New Year's gained about 0.8 pounds.
What kind of person is that?
Yeah, I know.
I would like to meet that person.
And that may not seem like a lot, but, still, it's 0.8 pounds is 0.8 pounds. You do that consistently, and eventually you're going to be me a few years ago.
Yeah, how many years have we been alive? If you multiply that by 0.8, that accounts for many of the pounds that we have gained.
Yeah, as much as I just said I like math, I'm not going to do that math. No, not right now. However, and here's the thing, if you're listening to this, people who were already overweight or obese gained as much as 5 pounds during that season. And I can tell you, I have put on way more than 5 during that period in my lifetime.
We'd like to really be excelling at the... Yeah. Like, we're in the bell curve, we're at, the bottom part, which is actually the big part.
Right. We're at the top of our game when it comes to putting on weight during the holiday season. And then a more recent evaluation found that people who are already obese experienced a greater increase in body fat over the holiday season compared to people who were in the normal BMI range.
Yeah, that tracks. I don't know the science, but yeah, that's basically me.
Yeah, exactly. And just as a reminder, some more math. The 2 months of the holidays are 16% of your year. So if you're saying to yourself, well, I'm just going to, give up. I'm just going to do what I do for the rest of the year. If you were absolutely perfect the rest of the year, that gives you an 84%, which is kind of a middling B average for the year.
And if we recall that there are 365 surprises, there was Banana Bread Month. There was Sourdough Starter Month. There was Tiger King Month. I don't know what you eat during Tiger King Month, but
Tiger.
What? It's a succulent meat.
Wow.
I don't know. But this year, you may have already been struggling with your health and wellness goals. And to just say, okay, it's November, I'll start again magically in January. That's when I'll get back on the scale. That's when I'll start tracking again. I just have so much going on right now. I can't deal with following healthy goals right now. We are setting ourselves up for failure. And I guarantee you, the you of January is going to magically build a time machine.
Right.
And come back to the you of November and maybe kick you in the shins for not making, I don't know what you do, but
this is the first thing. If time machines are invented in early 2021, that's going to be the first use of it, is coming back in time and kicking yourself in the shins for what you did. One of my favorite metaphors, analogies, is if you're standing in a hole and you need to get out of that hole, you don't spend 16% of your year digging that hole deeper before you climb out. You try and fill in the hole, or at least minimize it, and climb out sooner rather than waiting until the hole is even deeper before you start to climb out.
Yeah. So in the coming words that we will say on this podcast, we are going to talk about things to do now in America, before Thanksgiving hits, like a hurricane.
Right.
And before Christmas and Hanukkah. There are many things that we can do before the holidays to better prepare us for the actual events.
Thanksgiving comes in and says, "Here I am, rock you like a hurricane."
Wow.
I just pulled up a Scorpions reference. That's right.
Man, I am here for it.
Yeah.
Sorry, audience. This is
a little self-indulgent Scorpions reference from the 1980s.
Well, it's also, usually we like to podcast at the break of dawn.
I know.
We like to podcast early when we're fresh. You are getting midday jokes
here.
Yeah,
this is like middle of the day. We are like on fire right now. I've had like 3 cups of coffee. I am ready.
And the sun is high up in the sky right now.
It sure is.
There is a Steelers game on in an hour and a half, so we got to get through this.
Exactly. So the first thing that I want to suggest at this time, we are recording this in mid-November. It's going to come out about a week from now. And if you still have a bunch of Halloween treats around, if you have leftover treats around, throw them away. Give them away.
That's a good one.
I know you wanted to talk about this a little later, but Catherine found this group on Facebook called Buy Nothing.
Oh my gosh.
People will take away your treats if you don't sell anything on this thing. You give stuff away, and it has been magical.
So the website is buynothingproject.org. They have international groups around the world, which is international.
Yeah.
I literally today, on this very day, gave away 7 lollipops.
7 lollipops in a bunch. Somebody wanted to come by and grab 7 lollipops.
I want 7 lollipops.
Yeah, our kid got 7 lollipops.
Didn't want lollipops.
Yeah, we bought her some Halloween candy. She didn't want them, and so we gave them away rather than, saying to ourselves, well, we don't want them to go to waste. We better eat them.
Yeah, but the Buy Nothing project is just about people in your neighborhood trading or donating or even borrowing items. You're not going to borrow lollipops. You're just going to take the lollipops.
You do not want the person to return that lollipop after they borrowed it.
No, that's a 100% give. But get rid of the candy. There's more candy coming. The second wave of candy is coming. So get rid of what you have.
Yeah, imagine it like a waves and waves of troops heading towards you. You know, if you
like Normandy?
Yeah, sure, like Normandy.
Okay.
You get rid of this first wave of treats before the onslaught comes, or you'll be buried in them soon.
Exactly. So as we're approaching the Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah holidays, a lot of times we feel like we have to jam in every treat we've ever loved, every family tradition, all at once, especially for Thanksgiving. You might really associate it with your grandmother's favorite sweet potato recipe, or, you know, your rolls that you make for the family, all these different things. We feel like we have to get it all in because it's the only time that we can do it. My first suggestion to you is to really make sort of a list of the things that are the must-have items.
Yeah.
And then realize you can spread those items out over multiple holidays.
Yeah, you don't have to have every single one of your favorites every single time there's a gathering or an event or a meal or something.
Right. Like, okay, well, we love the lasagna and the turkey and the roast beef, and we also love the vegan roast, but we also love mashed potatoes and roasted potatoes and. Decide which holiday you're going to have the special treat at. Okay, we're going to have green bean casserole at Thanksgiving, and then at Christmas, we're going to have the sweet potato pie.
Right.
Like, you don't have to have it all on one day. So really think about that before you get into it, because I think we want to experience all of it, but then we don't have the room for it, and then we spend the whole month trying to eat the rest of it.
Yeah, and there is a certain time, and I've done this many, many times in my life, where I've given into that scarcity mentality, where I say to myself, I can only get this, this time of year, so I am going to eat it until I can't eat it anymore.
Yeah.
And for me, that is a lot.
Yeah.
I can put away those holiday treats like crazy.
A boss.
Like it was my job. So
he put that on LinkedIn, CEO.
That's right.
Jamming it all in my face.
Exactly. And just because it's called the holiday season doesn't mean you have to eat like every day is Thanksgiving or every day is Christmas Day, or, whatever your holiday of choice is that involves a lot of food. You don't have to treat every day like that. You can spread it out and still get enjoyment out of things.
Yeah. And if you are listening to this when it comes out, Thanksgiving is just a few days away. And before we get to the actual holiday, we would suggest still weighing in maybe even every day this week.
Yeah.
If that's not something you typically do, you could weigh in every day this week. You can get in purposeful movement every day in the morning. Just make it a small, daily activity. Even do that on Thanksgiving. That's during Thanksgiving that we're talking about. But keep up the activity. Don't just throw in the entire week and say, I'll start again next week. I'm too busy right now. Keeping those small fundamental habits really does matter.
Yeah, that scale avoidance and that all or nothing attitude are really ways to really sabotage yourself and end up much, much bigger and unhealthier than you were before this started. Focus on what you can do right now. Every step counts. You don't have to do you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to do a 6-day a week, 2-hour workout, but you can get in some purposeful movement every day, even if it's 5 minutes, if it's 8 minutes, like you can do that much to at least minimize the damage of the holiday season.
Right. And also, as you're approaching actual Thanksgiving, think about how the week is going, what potential triggers or stressful situations you might encounter, maybe going to grocery stores at off times, first thing super early in the morning to avoid crowds. Like, don't add stress upon stress for yourself. Make it as simple as possible. Order groceries to be delivered to your house, or I
did that yesterday.
Curbside pickup.
It was pretty great.
It was great. But make it easy on yourself to not try to cram in every single activity. And like I said, with triggers, if you know that you're going to be seeing people that might make you a little bit more stressed out, or if there's situations maybe you're not going to be with people and that might lead you to want to overeat because you're sad about not being with those you love, or, plan some Zoom calls or Skype calls with people that you care about. Make sure that you're filling up that time so that you're not just filling up on regret and maybe too much wine.
And another thing that I have done in the past couple of years is I decide that I'm going to pick one food that is representative to me, like my absolute must-have, that I will go ahead and give myself permission to indulge in when it's around. I don't use it as an excuse to go out and seek it extra, but for me, it's usually pumpkin pie. If there is pumpkin pie around, I will decide to have a reasonable amount of pumpkin pie.
I just imagine us walking through the neighborhood and someone's got a pumpkin pie cooling on a windowsill.
Steal it like Yogi Bear.
Like, Yogi Bear, I decided this was my special treat, everybody.
Exactly.
Officer, I can explain.
It's my special treat. It's my totem for the season, officer. Please. You don't understand.
It's my totem for the season.
But my point is that if you don't love ginger snaps or you don't love, various kinds of Christmas cookies, but there is one thing that you totally love, avoid those things that you don't love. Decide that you're not going to just, graze on things that you kind of enjoy or that you sort of enjoy. But, allow yourself to indulge in one specific treat, or like Catherine said, pick your 4 or 5 things that you want to have, but don't just mindlessly, eat things that you just kind of enjoy or that you sort of like just because they're there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think that ties into if you do happen to go over to someone else's house or do some sort of socially distant thing, make sure that you're telling yourself, okay, if there is a pumpkin pie, I will have a slice of pumpkin pie. If there is not a pumpkin pie, I'm just going to skip dessert this time because that's kind of my go-to. So it sort of gives you a beacon to hold on to, sort of like
very
this
well
is your
said.
important.
You said that much better than I did. Thank you.
We're all in this together. Another thing during the holiday season is to start looking at ways where you can move away from baking activities with your family, with your kids, and move into more of a craft-based spending time together.
I love this idea.
I know I ate more cookie dough than my daughter's class ever got cookies. Because, we're doing it for the teachers. I was doing it for my stomach. But places like Paper Source, there are also Pinterest. You can find a million different things to do. Go to a craft store, pick up something where you can make, pilgrim hats or, Thanksgiving placemats or something like that. Or even for Christmas or Hanukkah, any sort of seasonal homemade crafts is a great way to spend time together, have that, that I was going to say team building as though it was like some business thing. It's
right. The family corporation. Yes. Exactly. But, and you can even, I love this idea. You can even do this over Zoom. You have, nieces, nephews, cousins, whatever, even adults. Like I'm sure there are adults in the family that would enjoy doing this together over Zoom. You all pick a craft. Everybody gets the supplies. It could be something that's available to be delivered from Amazon or something, and you all get together on Zoom and you make it together, like while you're chatting and presumably laughing and yucking it up and enjoying some family time over a Zoom call.
Well, and if you think about it, everyone else is making cookies and they want to get rid of their cookies to not keep them in the house.
Right.
And you're doing the same thing. It's like Halloween candy. It is crazy to me that on the Buy Nothing group, people are like, I have buckets of candy. Come get it.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, we have too much. What a surprise. But doing that with, switching out crafts for sweets, I think is a really important way, especially with our, the situation that we have with really liking food. It would be a shame to let anything go to waste. She went through all of the trouble. Those loopholes are serious at this time of year. And that guilt layer on top of our inability to moderate our foods, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I used to lie to myself for years and years and tell myself that I was being rude or that the host or the person that made the treat was going to be super insulted if I didn't eat it. And really, I was just trying to give myself an excuse to overindulge during the holiday season.
Well, and another thing right now is people sending those holiday food baskets around that just have things, some things you wouldn't even look at again, like tapenade. Nobody is celebrating the holidays for tapenade.
I love tapenade, but that's just me.
I think the jar of tapenade you got last year is still in the cupboard.
All right.
Just saying.
Fair
but
enough.
now that I know about the Buy Nothing group, you get stuff that you don't want. You just post it up on the internet. People will come and get it from you. It's amazing.
For sure. Absolutely.
So don't be burdened by food gifts that you do not actually want. Okay, so now we've talked about the before time. Now we're going to talk about the actual Thanksgiving time event. What do you do in the morning of Thanksgiving, Donald? Do you starve yourself, saving up all of your stomach room for the big meal, the big game?
No.
One thing I used to do, which I've talked about before, is I would eat nothing until I was lightheaded, until we got to the main meal, gorge myself, and then want to sleep for 2 hours and then do it all over again.
No, that's a huge mistake in allowing yourself to starve. You need to keep eating your vegetables, drink your water, have your healthy snacks in the morning throughout the day. Rather than trying to, and then the other flip side of that is don't start your indulgences when you first wake up either.
I did that too. I kind of went both ways of just having, indulgent cinnamon roll tray for breakfast and then lunch also. So
if you're making your own holiday get together, definitely eat something in the morning. And if you're going somewhere, make sure that you eat before you go. Eat something sensible so that you're not just out of your mind and you don't just dive into like we said before, the treats that you don't even really, really want.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely going with protein matters, because when we start our day with tons of carbs, it just makes us slow and it makes us want more. So go into the big meal, refreshed, get in a little bit of exercise in the morning, maybe do your own virtual 5K, do a walk, something like that. Just make sure to get some fresh air before you dive into that gravy boat.
And if there is sort of a buffet style situation going on, really check out everything that's there before you just start grabbing things. Because I know what I have done in the past is I'll just start loading up my plate with the first things that I see, and then I'll see things that I want even more. So I will make sure that I eat all of it.
Yeah.
I'll eat the things I didn't really, really want, and then I'll go back and eat the things I really, really did want, and I end up eating much, much more than I really wanted to.
Well, and you can take small portions of a lot of different things if you are worried about someone being frustrated that you're not trying their special whatever. You can take a very small portion of it, save most of your room for your must-have treats, and get it in that way. So making sure you get those foods that you're really interested in matters, because you don't want to go and, feel like the whole day was ruined because you filled up on one thing and you didn't actually get the casserole that you had actually wanted.
And another thing that I have done so many times is I'll just mindlessly grab something and eat it, and I don't even really realize that I've had it afterwards. I'm like, oh, I ate that, but I didn't really, enjoy it. And so really sort of mindfully focusing on what you're eating and really enjoying it so that you're getting the most out of what you're eating, rather than just sort of mindlessly shoving something in your mouth and then realizing that, I didn't really enjoy that, so I got to have more of it.
Well, and two, I think before the meal starts, if you're mingling, if you're hanging out, people bring Chex Mix places, they bring cheese and cracker boards, lots of filler food that you can really have any time of the year.
Yeah.
If it is not a critical Thanksgiving food, just skip it, because we've all done that thing where we fill up on janky treats before the big meal, and then we're like, I feel kind of sick, but I really want all this too. So just avoid hanging out near the appetizer station.
It's like that, going to a Mexican restaurant and filling up on the chips and salsa, and then you can't really enjoy your entree because you've totally destroyed your appetite. Exactly.
So just be really mindful about that, mindless grazing. I think it's also a nervous habit. If you're hanging out in the kitchen with somebody, you want something to do. You want something to do with your mouth. So make sure that you have maybe a sparkling water in your hand or something like that. We can also, we've talked about it. We're not saying abstain from things and just white knuckle through the day until it's over. we want you to enjoy your day. We want you to make the most out of it. But being in a position where you're just filling up on random snacks is not a great way to spend the day.
No. And speaking of sparkling water, another thing to really watch out for is drinking your calories. And I'm talking about both alcohol and non-alcohol in this situation. The holidays are definitely a time for lots of alcohol, and you can really end up with a lot of calories from it if you don't watch. For example, more math and facts. A cup of eggnog has an average of 350 calories and 20 grams of fat in it. 1 cup of eggnog. 12 ounces of regular beer is typically 150 to 200 calories. 12 ounces of a light beer is 55 to 110 calories. A rum and Coke is about 250 calories, 8 ounces of it. 8 ounces of a rum and Diet Coke is about 100 calories. 6 ounces of a sweet dessert wine, 280 calories.
Yeah.
You have a couple of glasses of dessert wine, and you're already at about 600 calories. 6 ounces of regular wine, 130 calories. Which you have 1 6-ounce glass of wine. That's not so bad, but you start into your 2, 3, 4 glasses, and you're really torpedoing yourself.
Well, and I've talked about this. I get calorically promiscuous.
Oh, yeah.
When I drink a bottle of, no, not a bottle, but if I...
Yeah. When I drink a bottle of wine, I really start to eat.
No, but if I have a glass of wine and then suddenly I'm like, I love Chex Mix. I could eat this for days.
Exactly.
It's not the one thing by itself, but it's sort of what path it leads you down that is the harder part for me. Another thing, because this is our podcast and we can say what we want to take you back to the wonderful episode we did called Doctor.
We still haven't gotten that right.
No, it's fine. So when you are looking at your meals, try to think of small ways that you can modify your recipes to make them a little bit more calorie friendly.
Yeah, we're not talking about, making them taste so healthy that they're full of sadness.
Put applesauce in everything.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe you substitute, half of the fat in a baked recipe for applesauce. And, we know from experience, you don't really lose anything by doing that.
Yeah. And if something calls for butter, you can substitute broth for part of the recipe. Again, we're not saying all of it. If something calls for heavy cream, did you know that half and half is half cream and half milk?
What?
This is new information. It lightens it up just a little bit. If it calls for heavy cream, put in half that and then half 1%. You can just lighten it up just a little bit. It doesn't have to taste like sadness.
Well, and think about ways too that you can also pump up the volume. Sort of one of our go-tos, adding cauliflower to your holiday macaroni and cheese, because that's something I just made up.
That is a big thing. People do. I'm not in the macaroni and cheese on the holiday thing, but I don't want to mac shame anyone for their holiday cheesiness.
But, adding cauliflower or adding stewed tomatoes or, something like that really, fleshes that out, fills you up more, and you still get to enjoy that mac and cheese goodness, just as an example.
You could even put in, for your mashed potatoes,
you
could even put in some mashed up cauliflower. Just sneak it in there. Nobody will know the difference. Just a little bit. We're not talking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So more information about how to eat Thanksgiving dinner. Here we go, or any dinners you might have. You know that we are in the small plate club. We have badges, we have matching jackets, we have hats.
Yeah, for sure.
Shin guards.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
All of it. I've got mud flaps on my SUV.
Sure. Your SUV.
My SUV.
But we use smaller plates because you can fill up a small plate and it gives your eyeballs the chance to think that you're eating a lot of food.
Yeah, you really do eat with your eyes first before you eat with your actual mouth.
I think I've said this before and I'm a little ashamed of it, but you're going to do what you're going to do. So people are crazy in their 20s. I didn't want to go to Europe in my 20s because I heard they ate on small plates. and they had small portions. And I was like,
God.
if they don't have Cheesecake Factory portions everywhere I go, why even bother going to a country?
This is why we are here today, because you were limiting your world travel based on how much food you were going to be able to eat.
Well, it turns out you can eat a lot of food. We have been to overseas since my limiting belief of the small plates before, but
Yes.
We eat off of small plates because it gives our minds the ability to look at a full and wholesome plate of food. I used to want to eat off of chargers. When I found that chargers were just like for fancy display, I was like, I want to eat off the 17-inch plate, please. You don't need to do
think
that.
you should be putting food on chargers. They get plugged into the wall.
Oh, sorry, it's midday. You're getting midday comedy, everybody.
You're getting the full-on dad jokes now.
So again, look at small portions of things that you're really interested in eating. Only stick to the foods that really matter to you, not the fillers. And then also, I came up with this sort of on my own. This is new information for me.
What?
Take small bites of the food as though you were a judge on Chopped or some other Food Network
Yeah, you
show.
mentioned this to me earlier.
So I used to watch the Food Network Star, and they would have people having to do like, oh, they're great cooks, but how are they actually on television? And they would take a giant bite of the hoagie that they made.
Right.
And then the corner of chocolate about it.
Exactly.
And the hosts would be like, okay, here's a trick. You take a small bite, and then you can talk through it. That's how we need to eat our meals, because I can eat really fast all the time.
Yeah, and this goes back to really focusing on enjoying it too. You know, if you really, really chew your food, if you chew it extra, it helps to savor it and make that taste last longer. And also, there is that disconnect that they talk about, how you get full before your brain really registers it, and the slower you eat, the more likely that you are to catch up to that.
Yeah, I was reading something about the Great British Bake Off.
Yes.
And that one of the hosts doesn't actually really like dessert, which would be a great job. Like if I was a Twizzler host, I'd be like, it tastes like a Twizzler. This is what it's supposed to taste like. But we got to 100 and 145 pounds more than we are right now because we just put no limits on the holidays and then every day that followed. So take small bites. Really savor what you're eating.
And those judges don't eat entire dishes either. They eat little portions of it just to, get a feeling and a flavor for what they're about. And you can do the same thing. Just put yourself in the mindset of a judge on a cooking competition show.
Exactly. You can be very fancy.
Yes, exactly.
So you're eating the food. It's delicious. Donald's got his pumpkin pie. It's on the menu. It's what he wants to eat.
Yeah.
If you are at someone else's house and they are begging you to take home leftovers, you can do one of a couple of things. Take whatever they offer you and then get like a block away and throw it in a neighbor's trash.
Exactly.
Nobody's got to know what you do with the leftovers.
Or give it away on the Buy Nothing group. Exactly.
With lollipops.
Exactly.
But sort of the next part of the podcast is sort of about what you do after the meal. So those leftovers are really sort of where the big danger comes in. It's not the 4,000 calorie day that you have on Thanksgiving. It's not the 5,000 calories, whatever it is. It's what we do between Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, between Thanksgiving and Christmas that matters.
And it's not, saying to yourself, well, I could have had 5,000 calories on Thanksgiving and I only had 4, so it's okay for me to have 4,000 a day for the entire next week.
Right. And I mean, we are not doing a big holiday this year because of COVID, but my instinct in the past was if it was just me and Donald, 5 pounds of potatoes are probably the number of potatoes you need.
Probably.
Just in case we have company.
Yeah, well, and we want to enjoy those leftovers for as long as possible.
Right, so we would make enough food to have full Thanksgiving meals for 4 or 5 days afterward.
For sure.
And we would feel resentment if we didn't have those leftovers. The key is to enjoy the food on Thanksgiving maybe have some leftovers for the next day for dinner or something like that. But if you're strategically planning to make 4 pies and 5 pounds of mashed potatoes and it's just you and one other person,
Yeah.
you're just setting yourself up to gain a solid 5 to 8 pounds in a week. Like that's what I do. If I go off plan and just say, okay, I'll start again in January, I can gain 5 to 10 pounds between the middle of November and the end of December. Easily.
Oh, yeah.
Like without, I don't know if fat has memory and just is like, we're back in business, baby. Like it comes back, like they're a business of some kind. But it's what we do in the between time. We've talked before about the math of Thanksgiving being a day, Christmas Eve, Hanukkah being 7 days and 8 nights.
Sure.
Those are just a small portion. I don't have the math in front of me. I don't know what kind of time that is, but we're looking at a 45-day, time span for New Year. If we eat 45 days off plan, that is huge. But what if we just reserved it for like 6 days? What if we reserved it for 4 days? Those key important holiday days, really savor it and really enjoy it instead of just spreading it out into this like carb-filled nightmare that you that you won't wake from until like Valentine's Day.
A carb-filled nightmare that you won't wake from.
But when I eat carbs, a lot of carbs,
it
makes me feel sick.
No,
and I feel
know.
tired. I don't want to work out. I don't want to meal plan. Like that actually happens to me not on holidays. If I start out with just lots of heavy carbs, it makes me feel 10 years older. Like, oh, it's nap time because I just ate a stack of pancakes that are healthy because they were made with coconut flour.
For sure.
So again, after the meal, make sure the next day that you have your plans back in place to get back on your healthy habits. You're working out, you're tracking your food. You don't even have to track your calories on Thanksgiving. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
You can just estimate. I usually just say all the food, quote unquote, and then just leave it at that. But start out your next day back with your protein, back with tracking, water, a little bit of exercise, and just get back into your momentum. Because if we just say, okay, well, now it's Black Friday and I got to go shopping and I'll just start on Cyber Monday. I've got so much going on. Cyber Monday, there's no way I can deal with that.
Right. And, part of that is to try reducing your stress. Try and, that can often be the root cause of a lot of overindulging is really giving in to too much stress. Try and focus on reducing that. And remember that the holidays are supposed to be fun and they're supposed to be about family and they're not really supposed to be all about food, even though that is what I spent most of my life making them about. They're supposed to be about all of the other things that go along with them.
Well, and this year, and we talked about in the last episode too, that this is a year that might stand outside of your normal traditions. We are not canceling the holidays. There's not a war on whatever. We just might have to pause our normal traditions for this year. So if you're displaced, you're not going home for the holidays, don't use food to numb or, to replace your family time together. Remember that your goals matter, your health matters, and how you spend this season matters. It's not like magically on January 1st. We say this every year. It's not like we're going to wake up with some new resolve, with some new momentum. That is built over consistent habits, boring habits, day after day. We like indulging. We don't want to be sad on Thanksgiving and Christmas because we haven't enjoyed those really delicious foods that we love. But what we don't want to do is just spend a straight 45 days numbing ourselves with food and then be too exhausted January 1st to get back on track.
But also, please remember to be kind to yourself. If you do overindulge, don't spend the rest of the holiday season or early January beating yourself up. It is not the end of the world. There is always time to start again.
Exactly.
And there is always a good time to pick up where you meant to leave off and to just get right back on that horse and start riding again.
Well, and we definitely, we have setbacks. I joked on the last episode that it took me 8 months, 9 months to lose the weight that I gained last Thanksgiving.
And that wasn't a whole lot of a joke, really.
No, so it's pretty good. But this is a process that never ends, but what we do now is we don't wait 6 months to feel like working out again. We don't wait 6 months to try to start tracking again.
Oh, yeah.
We get right back up on the horse that Donald talked about, treated very nicely, a very nicely treated horse.
Absolutely.
But we get right back on it. It's just part of our habit now. Like, we don't really even think about it because it's just, okay, a bad day, let's just get back to it. Your health matters, your future matters, and you can enjoy this holiday season without feeling a lot of regret afterward by just even take 5 different things that we talked about. We talked about lots of different things. We'll go over all of them again right now. Let's start at the top. But find a few things that you can feel good about. Prioritize your treats. Get in some daily activity. Continue weighing yourself and really enjoy and savor every bite like you're a Food Network host.
Yes, indeed. And hopefully, if you have listened this long, you have gotten to a point where you're not regretting having made this choice to listen to the entire episode. Thank you so much. We are grateful to each and every one of you. We keep doing it because of all of your wonderful, positive feedback, and we really appreciate all of you. If you have any questions for us, if you have any holiday tips, tools, other advice you would like to give, we would love to hear it. You can reach out to us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com, and you can also find us on all the socials at weonlylookthin.
All the socials for people over 40. So we don't have like
Instagram. TikTok. We don't have TikTok or whatever other
Snapface or
zippity doodah or whatever all the kids are doing
Face
now.
Twitch.
Face Twitch.
Okay, what we actually have are Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter there, just in case
exactly.
it was unclear. You can find us at We Only Look Thin. You can go to our website, weonlylookthin.com, and find all of our podcast episodes there. You can also find out more about our subscription-based, women-only accountability group based on Facebook called Wolt Place, WOLT Place. The 1 month membership comes with 3 days complimentary trial to see if it's the right fit for you.
Yep.
And if you sign up for a 3-month subscription, you get 7 days to try out Wolt Place before you get charged. So give it a go.
Yes, please do. And also, if you are feeling in a giving mood, if you could do something for us and go to Apple Podcasts, give us a rating and a review. It can be very, very quick, but all of the ratings and reviews, the more that we have, the more we turn up in search engines. When people are searching Apple Podcasts, we get boosted higher and higher the more of those that we have. So if people are looking for podcasts like ours, it makes it easier for them to find it.
We have 389 star reviews right now.
Oh, wouldn't it be great if we hit 400 before the holidays?
What a fun thing. 401, because that's a prime
number.
Yeah,
that's
That'd be
even better.
Yeah. I love prime numbers.
You sure do.
I do. I don't know why I do, actually. So
you're very excited that we're going to be, our next anniversary is the 23rd anniversary. Yeah.
So fun. Yeah. Much better than 22 for sure.
For sure.
So if you're still dismayed that Catherine wouldn't go to Europe because of the small portions, just remember that now Donald and I are an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.